Welcome. Thanks for joining me on this informative presentation on how to build a healthy high-performance culture. Peter Drucker is attributed with the statement, "Culture eats strategy for breakfast." And there's a ton of truth to that statement. It took me years and years to learn, to realize that culture was the key to long-term sustainable success. My goal is to help you get better results by building a healthy high-performance culture. I'm going to share with you 3 secrets about culture and then the actual process that I've used with hundreds of companies across the country to improve their results. So what makes our approach different? We've melded the latest findings in neuroscience and organizational psychology with 40 years of hands-on management experience into a simple, clear, and compelling system. We've used this system with hundreds of companies across the country to improve their organization, their culture, and ultimately their bottom lines. So why should you listen to me? I've built and sold several successful companies, which means I've been in your shoes. Since 2006, I've used this process with hundreds of companies across the country to build better cultures. I have a degree in psychology, an MBA, and extensive training in neuroscience and coaching. In the last 2 years, over half our companies have seen 6-figure increases in their bottom line. The good news is you don't have to be Martin Luther King Jr. to create a great culture. It's not dependent on your ability to influence and motivate others. It's dependent on your ability to create a great environment. After 40 years of leading and managing, I've discovered Number 1, that motivation's an inside job. People do what they do for a good reason, but it's their reasons, not yours. Number 2, if you want people to buy in, you have to let them weigh in. And number 3, clarity is the key to action. The first business I owned for 17 years. It was a distribution business. And try as I may, everything I'd learned formally and informally to get better results, it was a constant struggle. I was always banging my head against the wall, trying to produce and get better results. My breakthrough when I learned that it wasn't about what motivated me, it was instead about what motivated my people. So here's some things I learned the hard way, and the benefit of this is you get to learn from my mistakes. So let's talk about the hard way a little bit. The first of these is using carrots and sticks to motivate people. That's either rewards, benefits, pay, commission, or it's punishment, firing them, yelling at them, getting upset with them. The second of these is holding people accountable. And you know how difficult it is as a business leader to hold someone else accountable. Man, that's like hitting your head against the wall. And then creating more policies and procedures. Let's just create a policy or procedure so everyone follows it. Well, then you get back to that same accountability problem, right? It's difficult to get people to comply with the policy, even if it's a great policy. And then, it is a little bit gratifying for your ego as a business owner or leader if you're the chief problem solver. But the chief problem with that is you have to be there to solve the problems. And if you're not, then the problems aren't getting solved. And then all of us have worked those long, endless days, 12-hour days, 7 days a week, just no future in that. But there is a better way. So I want to talk to you about the easy way. It's like running downhill. Took me a long time to figure this out and discover it, but once I did, I knew I was onto something. If you want better results as a business leader, as a business owner, focus on building a healthy, high-performance culture that really focuses on what motivates people over the long haul. It's not carrots and sticks. I can guarantee you that. That's what we've traditionally used in business to motivate people. Rewards, pay, benefits, or the opposite side of that, which is punishment. But here's what I want you to begin to think about. I want you to think about the difference between extrinsic and intrinsic motivation. So extrinsic motivation is that motivation that comes from outside a person, like pay, benefits, or rewards, or punishment. It's your effort to motivate someone else. Think about that. The best motivation is intrinsic. It comes from the inside out, and that's motivation that comes from the person themselves. The person wants to achieve it or get it done. That is a total difference maker when it comes to long-term sustainable motivation. So if we go back to Maslow's hierarchy and take a look at this, all that traditional ways that we've tried to motivate people, that extrinsic motivation is on the bottom of the pyramid. When we look at the long-term sustainable type of motivation, it's at the top of the pyramid. It's about purpose. It's about meaning. It's about self-worth. It's about dignity. It's about giving yourself to a purpose that's bigger than you. So let's look at what I've discovered are the 6 key long-lasting intrinsic motivators. And not that extrinsic motivation doesn't work, because it does work in the short run. It's just not sustainable over the long run. So let's look at these 6 key areas that keep coming up in all the research about long-term sustainable motivation. And the first of these is purpose. People want to have a purpose. They want to have meaning. In fact, people are hardwired for purpose. The second thesis is autonomy. So people need to be given the freedom, the liberty to work and do things in the way they see best without being needlessly micromanaged. The third is working in your strengths or mastery. Everyone is a genius in some area. If you can get them plugged into that area, they're going to be a rock star for you. And that's exactly what they want, and it's what you want. The next of these is achievement. All of us want to get more done. We want to make progress in life. We want a bigger house, a better car, more time. Achievement is a very attractive thing for us as humans. And then there's just general growth and development. So humans have a desire to grow and develop. Many of us as children had that natural desire to learn. We kind of get that worked out of us as we become adults. But the truth of the matter, that's all in there. We all want to grow and develop and expand our boundaries. And the last of these is belonging or meaning. So when you think about belonging, think about some of the gangs that occur in these big cities. Why would anybody join one of those? Well, it's all about that belonging piece. So let's jump into the 3 secrets of a great culture. Secret number 1, it's not about the pay and benefits. It's instead about the shared purpose, a cause, or a mission. So here is a study from the Tiny Pulse organization. They went out and surveyed over 500 companies, over 200,000 respondents across a broad spectrum of companies and industries. And when they were asked this simple question, what motivates you to excel and go the extra mile at work? Here's the responses they got back. And if you look at the top, is that belonging piece, camaraderie, peer motivation, 20%. As we move down that list, it's intrinsic desire to do a good job, 17%. Having real impact, 10%. Growing professionally, 8%. Meeting client customer needs, 8%. We're all the way down to 7% before money even shows up on that list. So the reality of this is people in general are motivated to go the extra mile, 93% of them for some reason other than money. Money is not a key motivator for most people. And what I found, and you've probably found this in your life too, if money is too much of a motivator for people, it's more of a problem than it is a help. Let's talk about what's your why. Humans are hardwired for purpose. Every human has that built naturally into them. All healthy humans are working towards something. All of them. They just may not be working toward the same thing. So give them something to work towards, a shared purpose, something that you have generated together that has real meaning and impact, that's at the top of that Maslow's hierarchy instead of the bottom. Do any of you have employees that look like this? This is a picture of a depressed person. And one of the most common traits of depression is a lack of hope or meaning. Here's some traditional priorities that we have used to try to motivate people and create a why, but they're not compelling for your employees or your team. And the first of those is making the boss a lot of money. Now think about that for a minute. Do you really think people would be excited about making you a lot of money? Probably not. The second, staying out of trouble. And a lot of companies are run by that. Oh, you do that, you're going to get in trouble. That's really a negative statement inside your organization if you repeatedly hear that being said, because people are trying to stay out of trouble instead of proactively be involved in the work. And then this is the general idea of making the boss happy. That's not very motivating for other people. It may be motivating for you, but not motivating for them. And then ultimately at the end of this list is them making a lot of money. And as we saw from the Tiny Pulse survey, making a lot of money is not motivating to most people. So what's your why? Is it compelling? Does it make the world a better place? Is it challenging, and does it stretch you and your people to grow? Does it build on your company or the individuals in your company's strengths? Because that's a really powerful motivator when it comes to long-term success and motivation. And is it simple and clear? Again, let's go back to that Maslow's hierarchy. We want to create motivation that's at the top of the spectrum instead of the bottom. And when we create stuff that's at the bottom, that extrinsic type motivation, it's not lasting. So let me tell you about this little girl right here. She was the valedictorian of her class. She had a perfect 4.0 in high school. She got a full ride scholarship to Missouri State to study computer science. They paid for her room, her board, her tuition. In fact, they ended up actually paying her to go to school. She graduated magna cum laude. That means she had a 3.9 grade average or higher with a major in computer science and a minor in mathematics and physics. So what did this little girl end up doing? Well, she works for a local design studio here in Springfield, Missouri for about half the wage she could work for one of those big boys. They are very interested, particularly in females being part of their organization. And yet here I have a female with extensive experience and the background to work, but she'd rather work for a company that she's a part of, that she shares their purpose with. And then additionally, she spent her time starting a not-for-profit called the Geek Foundation, which focuses on helping the disenfranchised learn how to code, to create computer programs so that they can get high-paying jobs. And this is very typical of our millennial workforce. They are much more interested in purpose, relationships, and experiences than they are in money or materialism. Secret number 2, it's not about requiring people to do less. It's instead about empowering them to do more. So how do you empower them to do more? You have to invite them to the conversation. Let them be part of the real work. In our process and the way we approach this is we first get them to lean in. We get them to be curious by inviting them to the conversation. Then once they're in that conversation or they're at the table with us, we ask them to weigh in. We ask for their opinions. We ask for their ideas. We help them see how they can solve problems, real problems that'll help the business move forward. So we've got them leaning in, they're weighing in, they're ultimately buying in. And then once they buy in and we work that process over and over again, maintain that continuous process, they want to stay in for the long term. And that's what we want, is we want employees that are there for the long term who are giving their best every day to help you achieve your goals and objectives. So let me tell you about this guy. This guy, I refer to him as Mad Matt. If you look at him, he's all tattooed up on his arms. When I first met him, he had come to a group to help us create a purpose statement and some core values for the company he worked for. And what had happened, how I happened to interact with him, is his company, a local company here near Springfield, Missouri, is owned by a Fortune 500 company somewhere else. They had a mission statement and a set of core values that they wanted to hoist on this local factory, this local organization. And they had reached out to us to come in and try to pump these people up and get them inspired around this mission statement and these core values. Well, we went to them and we said, hey, look, we can do that. We would be successful getting the energy level up that day, but that's not sustainable. So what we asked them for is 15 to 20 of their rank and file employees. These are just people off the factory floor to come help us create their own purpose statement and core values. Matt was one of these guys, and honestly, to tell you the truth, I think Matt was ready to be ousted out the door. He was on his last leg. So here's this guy who shows up, serious attitude, body language leaned back, not interested whatsoever in participating, but because we invited him, we asked him to lean in, then he began to weigh in, and eventually he began to buy in, and now he's there for the long haul. So let's talk about the core values that this group of rank and file workers from the factory floor came up with. And the first of these was safety. It's arrive safe, be safe, leave safe. The second of these was quality. Build it like you're going to buy it. Now think about that, how motivating that could be if you were working on that factory floor. Build that thing like you're going to buy it. Mutual respect. Treat others how you want to be treated. Teamwork. It's not about me, it's about we. Communication, we're all in the loop. And positive attitude, feelings follow focus. Amazing work. I've literally worked with executive teams that could not have come up with as good a set of core values as this group of factory workers did. And then if we look at their purpose statement that they came up with, in this factory, you literally had grandfather, dad, and son working side by side. So you had generations of families working together. And their purpose statement was generations of families building generations of memories. And they're in the leisure business. They build boats. They are creating memories for other families as they do their work. Talk about a compelling, moving purpose statement, man, they totally nailed it. And again, I want to emphasize to you, there were no executive leadership in here, no managers, not even a supervisor in this group, simply a group of random people from their factory floor. So I want to go back to my original question about Matt and the idea that Matt was there. And I often will ask, would you hire this guy? From surface appearances, probably not. The guy with the tattoos, the bad body language, the terrible attitude, the kind of person you don't want in your company. I got this email from Matt just a little over a year ago, and I want you to note his title underneath his signature line. And it's head of the manufacturing process. He now is in charge of their entire process that runs their manufacturing facility on the floor. This is a guy who is ready to probably be kicked out the door, now is a key player inside their organization and happy to be there. So how do you get people to buy in? You engage them in meaningful conversations around your shared purpose. When you co-create solutions with someone else, there is mutual ownership. So have you ever went and rented a car, been on a trip, rented a car, and we were going to take it back to the rental place? Do you normally clean that car out or wash it? No, absolutely not. Why not? Because it's not your car. It's somebody else's car. When it's your car, you take care of it. So I want to ask you, when it comes to ideas and solutions, whose ideas do you like best? Whose ideas will you take care of? Your own. So let's talk about secret number 3. It's not about superficial games and gimmicks. It's instead about clearly defining what winning looks like and being able to track progress. Think about it for a minute. Most companies haven't clearly defined what winning looks like. And we talked earlier about the idea that clarity, action follows clarity. If you're not clear, that's probably why you're not getting the right actions and behaviors you want. So it starts by defining what winning looks like, but you have to have a way to track it or a scoreboard so you can see if people really are winning on the fly. So I worked with a major accounting firm in Kansas City, and they happen to focus on not-for-profits and churches, helping them with their accounting and their financial needs and administrative things. What a great cause. What a great mission. So they were absolutely nailing the mission part. This company had experienced double-digit growth for the last 30 years. But over the last couple years, they had lost profitability due to the fact that their labor percentages had went through the roof. And most of that was because people were trying to achieve that mission of serving their clients and helping their clients succeed, but they didn't have that clear and compelling target. So when I started working with the owner of this business and the business in general, we set up a scoreboard, a visual scorecard, so they could track and monitor the labor rate. And we wanted them to do great work for their clients, but not give away the farm. And so seamlessly, without almost any effort whatsoever, that company came back in line and has become more profitable than it's ever been. So I was talking to the owner of the business earlier this summer, and he said that the first quarter of this year was the most profitable quarter he had ever had in the history of his business. Not only was the most profitable quarter, but it was more profitable than any of the previous years he had ever run his business. He was elated with his results, and it was simply because we defined what winning looks like and then created a scoreboard, a scorecard, so people could be in the game with us and move the ball forward. It really is not about games and gimmicks. It's not about special events. It's not about taking your people to team building activities and going to ball games. It's really about the work itself and making that fun and enjoyable, creating purpose and meaning, getting them engaged in the conversation around that, and then helping them see if they're really winning in a significant way. So we would love to help you build a healthy high-performance culture. How do we address these cultural issues inside organizations? We've created the Drive Leadership System to do exactly that. We've taken the latest findings in neuroscience and organizational psychology and melded that with 40 years of hands-on practical experience into a simple, clear, and compelling system. It works with almost any company in any industry. We've done this for hundreds of companies across the country with tremendous success. So let's take a look at the drive wheel. And if you look at the outside of that wheel, you'll see there's focus, and these are the outputs: focus, alignment, accountability, profitability, engagement, and retention. So who wouldn't want more of those kind of outputs? Our system is what delivers on that. So if we look at the foundational pieces of the systems, it's built on our core values. And it all starts with that centerpiece, that why, that shared purpose that we talked about. So it's mutual respect, shared purpose, and meaningful dialogue. Mutual respect. People are smart, people are capable, and people are motivated. It's very interesting. Gallup had their 2017 global workforce study, and they're estimating that the lack of engagement across the world is costing us $7 trillion a year in productivity. That's 7 trillion with a T, 7 trillion. So the next of these is shared purpose. And the question is, what can we achieve together that we can't do apart? And then our team is best when we get to work in our own individual strengths and our own natural abilities. And what would you like to do together that you can't do without the other person? And then meaningful dialogue. So that's this conversation, this two-way conversation where everyone's sharing their perspectives freely and openly in a safe psychological environment. People want to help, they just don't know how. And conflict and communication rarely coexist. So let's go on and look at the process that we actually use. And that's this inner circle here that we're talking about. So it starts with collaboration, actually, then clarity, and then the natural outgrowth of that is commitment. So let's look at all three of those areas, okay? So collaboration, get your people in the conversation. We've said that several times, but I can't emphasize that enough. Get them in the conversation. Talk about your shared purpose. Then clarity, identify your challenges and opportunities and prioritize those challenges and opportunities based on best ROI. And then commitment, finalize a plan and then regularly meet to discuss progress with your team around those issues. So how do we help business leaders? We at Drive, we walk alongside you to fully implement this system. We engage your people in meaningful dialogue. We help you clearly define what success looks like. We build an executable plan with you. We support your team with proven processes and tools, and we maintain focus and accountability through regular ongoing conversations. So let me ask you a question. If this happened to just save one key employee for you, would it be worth checking it out more? I think it probably would, and it may save much more than 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a lot of time and energy when you lose a key employee. What if it improved your productivity 20, 30%, which we frequently find that happening inside companies we work with? Half the companies I've worked with in the last year have increased their bottom line by over $100,000. There is real throughput, real results in this. And yes, it's the right thing to do for you and your people, but it's also the profitable thing to do. It's a better way to get results. So I know if you're listening to this, you're probably a business owner or business leader. And part of how you got to where you are is, as Chet Holmes used to call it, pig-headed determination. You have been strong. You have been independent. You have gotten here on your own. You won't get to the next level doing what you've done in the past. Learn from our mistakes. Utilize what we've learned and what we know in being able to help you build that healthy high-performance culture that you've dreamed about all along. When we talk about who this has worked for, again, accounting firms, eye doctors, trade schools, dental clinics, manufacturing, lawyers, architects, hospitals, and anyone who has people. If you were able to build a culture that could maximize your company's value, what would that be worth to you? And it's not about working harder, it's about working smarter. Imagine what it would be like if everyone in your organization was focused on and communicating around your shared purpose. Your people are growing and happy. Your business is getting exceptional results. And all this is happening with or without you there. So we, again, would like to help you do that. If you want more info or would like our assessment that we talked about, the culture assessment, go to dlg.coach/results. You can do 4 things there. You can take the Better Culture Survey. You can download that personally driven growth plan. That's that tool that I talked about. And again, these proven tools eliminate a lot of the trial and error for you. You can sign up for our Drive Leadership Insights. We send out info on leadership and culture about twice a month. They're short, concise, great for your own use and also with managing and coaching your team, or you can schedule a time to talk to a culture coach. Thank you for joining me today. Appreciate your time and attention.